So how do I run Chronicles of Darkness games? Our current goal for the Patreon is for every $10, I will do another Let's Play of every single Chronicles of Darkness game. As a game master, especially for Chronicles of Darkness, you don't need to know stat lines of the enemies that you have. You can sort of game the system in a way. For instance, a normal mortal is going to, on average, have 2 dots in an attribute and maybe 1 or 2 dots in a skill, depending on if they're trained in it. If they're an Olympic level competitor, they might have 5 dots in a skill, but that's the maximum a human is going to have. If the NPCs aren't performing well or they're performing too well against the players, I will make adjustments behind the scenes, such as adding dice, taking away dice, giving them the rote quality, taking away the 10 again quality, or giving them the 8 or 9 again quality. 8 or 9 again is really good if your character is able to hit but isn't hitting too hard. Rote is really good if the character is not hitting at all. Editor Corbin here. There are a few other ways to increase the potency of your NPCs. You can always have them spend willpower, which will give them a +3 to their attack rolls or a +2 to one of their defense stats. Additionally, you can use an ability or give them ability that makes them ignore defense or cover in case that's a thing that you are running up against with your players. Lastly, I would say there is something that is called, I believe, a reckless attack. It gives you a +2 bonus to your attack. In exchange, you lose all your defense for the turn, which means you turn your NPCs into glass cannons so that they're easier to hit, but also more potent to deal with. I focus on my NPCs having at least 3 aspirations or goals. This is so that they are doing stuff outside of just what the players are doing. For instance, good motivations are quests for more money, more power, and for romance. So that way, outside of game, I can say, oh, their motivation is this, so maybe they are talking to this other NPC. I'll also like to throw in little Easter eggs of the players seeing the fallout from that. If an NPC is going around trying to woo the sheriff of the city and no one can see it or no one hears about it, does it actually happen? Throwing in rumors is always good for that. Try not to plan too much ahead of time. I like using polls to guide what I should plan for my next session. If I'm looking for an overarching narrative, like for instance having a big set piece at the end of a game, I will push the narrative to that somewhat, but often I will react to what my players do. Having maps, artwork, all this other stuff isn't necessary. Game masters, if you feel like you need to have a map for every situation, I have a link below to my Pinterest board if you want to use that. Feel free to adjust on the fly. Honestly, doing stuff in the theater of the mind through imagination is a lot easier than finding and building every map that your players are going to go to. This advice isn't for everyone. This advice is stuff that works for me, and honestly, I don't do it all the time. Sometimes I make lists of NPCs I don't use because it's just a little bit too hard to find this stuff after I've written it, or maybe I don't have it on hand. Things aren't going to go well. Things are going to be messy sometimes, but being able to improvise, being able to come back from that, being able to come up with things on the fly is something that you should be able to do. If you feel comfortable with prepping stuff beforehand, make sure you have it shared across your electronic devices so that you can access it even when you're not at your computer or don't have your tablet with you. You find stuff that works for you. Not everyone behaves the same. I behave entirely different than other players or other game masters I've worked with. I've had game masters who only run modules that are pre-made. I've had game masters who only run stuff that they've made. I have game masters who have binders of information that they've written. I've been a game master who's only used a 2-sentence prompt to create an entire session. I did that when I had Josie go up against a NPC in a Trinity Continuum Assassins game. I even asked them if it was how long they thought I had prepared for the session. They thought at least a day, and I said I prepared nothing that entire session. I had an idea, I went for it, Riffing off of what your players do and using your players to come up with interesting scenarios is gold. If a player wants to do something, say, hey, what do you want to do? If your player has a personal goal or personal backstory goal, such as helping their NPC friend get off of drugs, now you have a session planned for next time where your NPC is trying to get out of a deal with a drug dealer. Thank you so much for watching. Really, if you've gone this far, please subscribe to the channel. It really tells me that you are someone who really cares about this information, and it really helps me get motivated to make more videos. I've been making a lot of videos that I like, and I've noticed that they don't do too well on YouTube, but I'm still gonna make them. I could be making 1,000 views on doing Dungeons and Dragons and WotC controversy stuff, which I did one time before and I got 10,000 views on it, but I don't do that. I make stuff that I want to make. If you want me to do more of it, share this video with someone who you think would like my content. Don't just share it with someone who's a D&D player and say, hey, this guy talks about non-D&D stuff, because they're gonna just tune out. I try to get to people who want to diversify what type of RPGs they play. And if someone's interested in trying out Trinity Continuum or Chronicles of Darkness, please share my videos with them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good one, and I'll be making more content in the future, and here's a video that I think you might like. Shout out to our patrons for supporting the channel.